Picture this: the dead of night, in the dark, turbulent waters of the Gulf of Aden, a global trade highway where billions of dollars worth of goods pass through every year. Thick fog blankets the sea, the air heavy with the scent of salt and boat fuel. Two small boats packed with armed Somali pirates speed recklessly toward a massive shadow on the horizon. Their engines roar, slicing through the waves, their hearts pounding with greed for the loot of a large defenseless cargo ship. No flag, no lights, just an iron beast that seems ripe for the taking. In the pirates' minds, this is a golden opportunity. But it took just 90 seconds for them to realize their fatal mistake. They thought they were after treasure, only to find themselves prey to a nuclear dragon. This hulking shadow wasn't a simple cargo ship. It was the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, a Nimitz-class aircraft carrier weighing 100,000 tons, manned by 5,000 crew members and equipped with fighter jets that take off before breakfast. The pirates? They had a few AK-47s and RPGs on their 6-meter boats. The carrier? It was armed with radar-guided cannons, guided missiles, attack helicopters, and one simple rule: no threat is tolerated. The tiny boats against this floating city were like ants attacking an elephant. What happened next wasn't a skirmish or a negotiation. It was a lesson. A lesson that began with a warning and ended with handcuffs and seized boats. Because when you go after a U.S. aircraft carrier, you're picking a fight with a sleeping dragon. It all started with the radar. The SPE-1 radar on the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, capable of tracking hundreds of targets within a 200-mile radius, picked up two tiny, fast-moving blips on the screen. No identification signal, no pause, just speed and audacity. In the Combat Information Center, where massive touch screens and digital maps monitored every movement at sea, the blue glow of the radars filled the room like the heartbeat of technology. Warning beeps sounded. Contact! Two small boats, bearing 085, closing in. In the Red Sea, that means only one thing: trouble's coming. The officer on deck didn't hesitate. He grabbed the microphone and said, "Bridge to CIC, prep the flight deck. Launch the Seahawk helicopter immediately." This carrier wasn't a sleepy convoy. It was like an Olympic champion ready to sprint before the whistle. The beating heart of a naval strike group, always prepared with precise Navy protocols. In under 120 seconds, 200 crew members synchronized to launch the MH-60R Seahawk helicopter, equipped with infrared sensors and a 7.62 mm machine gun, roaring off the deck. This Iron Eagle could hunt the pirates' boats like sea rats from 1,500 meters away. Meanwhile, on the carrier's deck, spotlights sliced through the sea like swords of light, and crew members in yellow, red, and green vests worked like a synchronized orchestra. One cleared the deck for flight, another checked weapons, and a third prepped a second helicopter for support. In the CIC, the next report came in: the boats are splitting up. One's changing course, the other's still coming straight for us. A classic pirate tactic with cheap GPS: confuse and attack. But the carrier's captain said just one thing: maintain course. Let them expose themselves. The pirates' rickety boats thought they could outsmart this iron giant, but the radars and Seahawk were like a chess grandmaster, always several moves ahead. In the sky, the Seahawk reached the boats, its white light flooding the tiny vessels like a giant spotlight in the dead of night, the roar of its blades churning the sea's raging waves. The pilot reported, "Hostile posture, visible weapons." That was the red line. The Navy usually gives pirates a chance to explain, but these boats, with their speed and weapons, had already dug their own grave A second helicopter took off. VBSS teams, trained for lightning-fast operations, launched from the USS Gravely, the escort destroyer, in high-speed boats with bulletproof vests, moving like sea wolves. On the carrier's deck, the radar-guided CIWS cannons, capable of firing 4,500 rounds per minute, hummed silently, tracking the boats like mice in an open field. The pirates, however, still thought they were facing a cargo ship, as if they'd shown up for a picnic in the middle of a battlefield. The boat on the right charged toward the carrier with false confidence. At 800 yards, the Seahawk lowered its altitude. The door gunner readied an M240 machine gun, capable of firing 600 rounds per minute. No shots were fired yet, just a clear warning. "This isn't your place!" But the pirates didn't even blink. One stood up and hoisted an RPG onto his shoulder. That move sealed their fate as hostile, like shooting a BB gun at an armored dragon. From the USS Gravely, two 11-meter high-speed boats, capable of 40 knots and designed for sharp maneuvers, hit the water carrying VBSS teams. These weren't diplomats. They were maritime strike teams with full gear, bulletproof vests, M4 rifles with laser sights, and flashbang grenades that could disable the pirates in a heartbeat. The aircraft carrier didn't even need to fire a shot. This was the strike group's job. But if things escalated, the CIWS cannons were ready to turn the boats into scrap metal in seconds. The Seahawk issued a final warning. The red lights of the VBSS boats blinked in the darkness, and the Seahawk's gunner fired a burst into the water ahead of the pirate boat, sending waves crashing over them like rain. The message was clear: turn back or sink. This time, the pirates faltered, but it was too late. The VBSS boats closed in like lightning. One flanked the right, the other cut off the escape route. A voice boomed from the loudspeaker. "Drop your weapons! Hands up! Now!" The pirates' boats, against these iron sharks, were like a rusty bicycle in a Formula One race. They had no chance. Fear and confusion swept through the pirate boats. One tossed his AK-47 into the water. Another tried to turn his boat, but the engine stalled under pressure. It was a wise choice. Those who resisted quickly learned the Navy doesn't wait for a vote. In under 30 seconds, the weapons were collected, the pirates were handcuffed and lying face down on the VBSS boats, and their vessels were seized. The USS Eisenhower didn't even slow down. It was as if nothing had happened. The pirates, now handcuffed on the deck of the USS Gravely under blinding spotlights, stared at the floor in heavy silence. But the story didn't end there. When the Navy faces a threat, it doesn't just neutralize it, it teaches a lesson and sends a message to the world. The Gulf of Aden is our backyard, and no one enters uninvited. The VBSS teams brought the pirates to the Gravely. The second helicopter patrolled overhead, its advanced infrared sensors not only scanning the boats, but also recording the heat signatures of their engines and the chemical traces of their fuel. They even checked if the boats had GPS, satellite phones, or encrypted radios. Because this might not have been a simple attack. There could be a larger network behind it, and the pirates didn't realize their rickety boats might bring down their entire operation. And guess what? This wasn't just a group of amateur pirates. On the USS Eisenhower, analysts in the Combat Information Center were busy decoding data with decryption software. The RPGs, broken phones, even the fuel cans from the boats were sampled. They found a strange radio frequency linked to an illegal arms shipment from Eritrea. Boom! This wasn't just an attack. It was a clue to a smuggling network that had been operating in the Horn of Africa for years. The information was quickly shared with NATO bases in Bahrain, And this small operation sparked a wave of global tracking efforts. The Gulf of Aden, through which 10% of global trade flows, stays safe from smugglers thanks to operations like this. The second boat that tried to escape, it got caught too. A Scan Eagle drone with thermal cameras and silent flight showed the boat as a trembling dot on the carrier's radar screen, parked next to a fishing vessel that was suspiciously clean for fishing, like a luxury car in a run-down garage. VBSS teams from the USS Mason, with high-speed boats and laser-guided targeting, surrounded the boat. The result? 2 more pirates arrested, a laptop full of encrypted messages and hidden port coordinates seized, and a slew of questions to be answered in a Djibouti intelligence tent with translators and expert hackers piecing it together like a puzzle. The next morning, the sea was calm. The golden sunlight lit up the deck of the USS Eisenhower, and FA-18 jets soared into the sky like eagles. Coffee was brewed, flight operations didn't pause for a second. But beneath this calm, an intelligence storm was brewing. This simple attack had triggered a multinational operation. Navy spy satellites with advanced sensors intercepted encrypted communications in the Horn of Africa. Data was shared with the British and French navies, and Allied ships in the region were briefed. The Navy's message wasn't just for the pirates. It was for anyone who thinks they can challenge an aircraft carrier. Thinking about it is like trying to tickle a nuclear dragon with a popsicle stick. You've got no chance. This message was delivered with precision, speed, and infinite power. We saw you. We stopped you. We learned from you. Next time, you won't even get a chance to try. The Navy showed that the oceans, from the Gulf of Aden to the Strait of Hormuz, are under its control, with no room for lawbreakers. Now, my question for you. If you were the commander of this carrier, what would you do? Would you capture the pirates alive or sink their boat right there? Should the Navy always act more decisively, or is this approach enough? Let us know in the comments. And if this story got you pumped, like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss our next thrilling tales. The sea is full of adventures, and we're going to tell you all about them.